Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatika. Welcome once again to the Millcreek Government Channel. We're on Channel 9, you know that. The gentlemen sitting next to me are going to be discussing something which covers everybody's domain. It doesn't matter where you live. And it's called truancy in our schools. On your left, from Penn State Barron, is Joseph Markowitz. In the middle is Dr. Michael Webster from UPMC Hammett. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Truancy in schools. I just introduced a medical doctor. What has that got to do with truancy in schools? Why are you on board with this?
Well, at first I didn't know the answer to that question either. Of course, we all know what truancy is. It overlaps a little bit with medicine in general. I have a pediatric population of patients. There are school attendance issues. When you first think of that, you often think about the worst possible cases, people who are involved with serious high-risk behaviors, people who are involved with the law. And it's not always that situation. So sometimes it can be. A close friend of mine is part of the truancy task force and recruited me. He was the one who first told me, well, that there's actually a medical component to this. Sometimes we unknowingly miss opportunities to encourage school attendance or unknowingly help children not attend school. There are people coming into our office every day with medical conditions. We have to be really particularly aware that we're treating their conditions to the level that they can participate in any activity that anyone else would. Sports participation, school attendance. If something's interfering with school attendance on a medical basis, it's our job to make sure that that doesn't continue happening. In addition, we have to be vigilant also. When you have someone with a chronic medical condition in particular, or a young child with frequent common conditions, it starts to become easy to hit that more than 10 absent days sort of time frame. If we're not paying attention, we could be sending notes home with these people or providing notes over the phone that says, sure, mom said they were sick. Before you know it, we don't realize that they've missed 30, 40 days of school. Gotcha. So we have to make sure that we're helping them achieve their best. Good.
Joe, why does Penn State Barron, or how do you get involved with this? Now, this truancy reduction task force is county-wide, and I would say it's probably United States-wide because this is a problem that is prevalent. So how was it identified that this is a problem, and then how are you involved from Penn State Barron?
Sure. First of all, the office I work out of at Penn State Barron is the Susan Hurt Hagen Center for Outreach and Organization. And what we do is we work with nonprofits around the city, we work with school districts, we work with youth serving agencies to improve positive outcomes for youth. So truancy in high school graduation is one of our priorities, along with teen pregnancy reduction, some other things. But one day I get a phone call from Judge Stephanie Dimitrovich, and she said, we're getting everyone together to rally the troops to reduce truancy, because she was running truancy court for Erie County, and she was appalled by the stories of how young the children were that were being referred, and the amount and the level of truancy cases. So she rallied the troops. The first meeting in her courtroom down at the courthouse, there was about 70 to 80 people, including school superintendents, police chiefs, the mayor's office. Concerned
a lot of people. So let's cut to the heart of the issue here. What is the underlying cause or causes then of truancy? Toss-up question. You don't want to go.
Well,
you gave some great reasons.
Well, we're trying to be preventative. We want to be proactive instead of intervening. You heard a lot of stories about let's go rally, let's get the kids off the streets, run them back to school. And the sad fact is, Phil, they go in the front door and right back out the back door again. Right. So we want to use the public health model, which is we know what the risk and protective factors are for youth to graduate from school. For example, back in 3rd and 4th grades, when kids start to fall behind academically, that's like the #1 risk factors to high school dropout. Kids who move from home to home, neighborhood to neighborhood, never build relationships with adults and teachers within school buildings, those relationships that we need. That's another risk factor. So we're trying to prevent these things before they happen, and that's kind of where Dr. Webster comes in, is he's doing a component of that as well.
Would you care to elaborate on that, please?
One of the parts that comes to mind in particular is it's medical, but it's not. The goal we have is, as Joe said, prevention. particularly for pediatrics. We have a very wide population base here in Erie County. One of the big things that we see more and more, particularly with an expanding immigrant population in the area, we have people with a lot of things that are going on in their lives besides school. We have to encourage them to make school an important priority in spite of the fact that they're living in a crowded situation, for example. They have transportation issues to school. They have a lot of challenges to overcome. It's easy for school to get lost in the shuffle, so we have to be part of encouraging their success, providing whatever services make it possible for them to get to school. They're not even actively trying to avoid it. It's just we're trying to survive instead.
Yeah, it's a good word. Again, you probably are able to identify what it is. You've analyzed what it is. Now, what exactly, are there any specific schools that are being targeted without being careful to step on toes here? This is a problem, I would say, urban, rural, suburban, perhaps more so in highly populated cities where you can just check off school and nobody really is going to miss you because they're not going to really look for you. So what do you do to get them to say, we'd like you to come back in? How do you do that instead of coming back in, going out the back door?
Well,
any pilot programs, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
And Phil, first of all, right off the bat, it is urban, rural, and suburban problem.
Yeah.
In fact, the highest ninth grade dropout rate in the county comes from a suburban school within our county.
Is that so?
Absolutely.
Say that again. The highest
ninth grade dropout rate out of any school in our county comes from a suburban school.
Okay.
Not an urban.
Not an urban school.
That's correct.
Okay. And the reasons for that would be, without giving away who that is?
Well, there's a number of reasons for it, but when students are disengaged in school, when they don't see a viable future for them, when they don't have hope for the future, it doesn't matter where you live. I mean, they're not going to be engaged in their school, and that's one of the things we're working on. But we don't target schools, our task force.
Okay.
But there are schools who have stepped forward and said, we want to be part of this. Okay. Please
help us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that's schools like the Union City Area School District. We've been out there. When I say we, Positive Youth Development through Penn State Barron, our program, we've been out there for about 6 years, and we've been monitoring. We're a research entity, but we're also a youth outreach program. And what we've done is, over 6 years, we've prevented 52 high school dropouts. Now, you have to factor in that one high school dropout is about $800,000 in costs to the community over that person's lifetime, because they're going to earn less, they don't have a diploma, they're not going to be paying as much taxes into the tax base, they're going to need more resources. Those are national studies that have done that. So you're talking about a $41 million savings over 6 years.
Yeah, there is a monetary component to dropping out. Yes, there's no doubt about that. My notes say there's a lack of hope for the future impact students in high school in regards to graduation. How's that lack of hope for the future? Where does that come from? How does that germinated?
Well, actually, it comes from their mouths. There's a survey in the county, actually all across the state. The statewide survey is 30,000 high school students. In the county, it's about 6,000 high school students.
Okay.
And a variety of questions are asked, from things like, where are your most positive places to be? By the way, the #1 choice by all students was school. School was the #1 best place for them to be. The worst place for them to be was in their own home or in their own neighborhood.
Is that so?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
And that's urban, rural, and suburban students taking the survey.
Yeah. Anytime you want to hop in, just please hop in, Doctor.
Sure.
That's interesting. I taught, and you're right, I can confirm that they want to be there. School is for them a safe place, it's a social place. There's always a teacher that's going to grab on to Mike Webster and say, I think you've got the makings to be a doctor someday, even though you're poo-pawing it and you're not coming to school, and you're good in chemistry, you're good in math, you're good in biology, why don't you come to school? There's those underlying areas. I love what you're saying about the medical components. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that? Do the parents try to take advantage of your kindness by going, I'm going to send him to the doctor, and I'll have a legitimate reason why I don't have to send him to school? I don't know. I could be way off on that.
Well, there's never a parent who comes in that's walking in the door saying, if I do this, I can get my kid out of school. But it's not something I experience. People generally want their children to do well. They want them to succeed. They want them to go to school. They don't always see the importance of it. They don't always see, okay, if I miss 20 days this year, that's a month of school. That's a lot of missed opportunity there. And it's also showing them that it's not something that's important, that's really a desirable activity, something that they can be engaged in, as Joe said.
Can I just dovetail? Does that mean then, well, I don't really have to go to work on time? I don't have to go to work at all. You know, I mean, I can just, does that transpose itself later on down the line? You know, it's not that important. You know, if I show up, okay. If I'm late, you know, I can talk my way out of it. I can do extra credit homework or something to get me through. Sorry.
Well, that's even a broader topic than truancy. People of our generations are often heard to say the work ethic today is different than it was, and those sort of things. We can make lots of different possible explanations for that. As much as we can, again, back to prevention, I'm going to try to always turn that around, give everybody a reason to say that this is a worthwhile activity. It's a good place to be. It's almost that parents, educators, physicians, everyone just has to realize this is an opportunity for us and make sure we paint things in the positive light, don't focus on the negatives.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't good in school either, so that's okay. I understand why you're not good in school, Mike. You know, I never did like English either, but I didn't like biology. I mean, there's always that negatives coming and giving them a reason not to be successful. Now, something in my note says, what are the 40 developmental assets and how do they affect school attendance? Toss-up question on here.
Yeah, we talked about the risk factors, what causes students to not be engaged in school, poor neighborhoods, constant moving, and such and so on. But on the other end of the scale are the protective factors that protect youth, to keep them involved and engaged in school. That's the 40 developmental asset model, and that is our model of prevention for positive youth development out of Penn State Barron. So what we're trying to do is we facilitate the enhancement of those protective factors in schools, communities, neighborhoods, youth centers, faith-based organizations. So we have some projects around the county that are really working to enhance those protective factors.
Can you name some of them?
Absolutely. The Union City Area School District, for example, we've trained all the teachers to engage students in relationships, building relationships, finding the spark of an interest in a young person's life, as opposed to just giving them homework to do and things like that. This was a school district that had 40-some after-school activities and clubs, including sports. And after 5 years of positive youth development being in there, we raised it to over 100 clubs and activities for youth, and the attendance rate has gone up since that time. We've actually decreased chronic truancy by over 50% in that school district.
Wow. How does the, going back to being 14 or 15 or that very crucial age, the media today must just enter into their lives. I mean, the social media is Facebook, Twitter, internet, iPads, iPods, iTunes. There's so much to engage them outside of a scholastic area. How does the schools use that, though, to their advantage and say, look, we're going to buy iPads for you, and we're going to put the textbooks on the iPads now? Or, I don't know, toss-up question again. Is that a good thing, or are you battling uphill against that?
Well, everything that changes over time that way, technology in particular changing so fast, has positives and negatives. One thing that I like to focus on is that all the social media stuff has changed what children are exposed to, but it hasn't really, it's an addition. It hasn't taken something away. So I have 4 children. They range from 18 to 3. Have pretty much everything involved there. And they're not any less involved in face-to-face direct activities, school activities, sports, for the fact that they have so many more technological resources than I did, so many more distractions. So it's not necessarily taking something away. And of course, there are always ways to integrate technology into school engagement issues. That'll be a long list.
Yeah, okay, but you're at the high end of the educational scale, and you're not going to let them sit there and play the Xbox 360 24/7, I don't think.
Well, sometimes I can't stop it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
No.
Thank you for saying that, yes.
No,
sometimes you can't, yeah.
So I have a wide range of interest in my own kids, too.
Sure.
My 15-year-old, for example, was a very good student, but it takes a strong reminder to get him off of the computer once in a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He uses it just as much for school as he does for recreation. Mm-hmm. One of the things in particular, as you and Joe were talking, I just wanted to touch on, to some extent, my aspect of the Truency Task Force has a significant role, but it's such a broad organization. Whenever I sit down at a meeting together with all the people involved, and as you said, so many community leaders, business leaders, people from education, law enforcement, everywhere are involved.
Yes.
I sit there in awe of how many different programs and opportunities that they've started.
Right.
I'll listen to those things, and it almost makes me want to join the hip hop group at a high school that a certain person is working on. I get excited about it just sitting there. Yeah. So I can really see why that's happening.
Yeah.
How effective you've been so far.
They really are digging deep and reaching out and pulling them back in. Absolutely, yes.
I promise I won't join a hip hop group.
Oh, come on.
It's
I'm not going to hold you to that. Come on, it'd be good if you did.
Phil, I think you bring up a good point, though, because the electronic media, I think, stunts social relationships and figuring out how to have conversations with people to work your way out of situations.
I'm going to ask you to the prom. I'll text you.
Yes, something like that, or turn you down, which is easier.
Worse.
But, you know,
shot down on a text.
Somebody was driving down the East Coast, and they went through a small town, and the moms and dads were out in the yards playing with the kids, and people were out on the porches talking to each other, and it was like Mayberry.
Yes.
But just only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying, what a great town. This is, everybody's engaged, they're outside. Well, here we found out the power went out and everybody was forced outside. So I'm recommending some planned power outages.
Planned brownouts.
Yeah, brownouts, right.
Is the problem of the truancy, are you managing to flatten it, or is it rising beside your efforts? I don't know, I don't mean that to be a negative question, but it's a tough fight. It's a tough. You got a lot of things against you. I would think they're going to say, "I'm betting you guys aren't going to win this one." But you're here, and you're right. And you mentioned all those components that go into this. There's law enforcement, and there's doctors, and there's people from the colleges that are all saying, "Look, we've recognized this. Let's do this." Again, are you making headway? Are you winning a little bit?
Yeah, well, Union City Area School District was our pilot project, and they're the ones that reduced truancy by 50% and prevented 52 dropouts. We've just gone into Strong Vincent High School in the fall of this year, and we have a full-time associate coordinator in there, Carlos Ramirez, and he's doing two things, Phil. He's working on two levels. Number one, he has the top 20 high-risk students who are probably going to drop out of school if he doesn't intervene with them. So he's got that intensive level. But the other cool thing that he's doing that's unique is he's working with the entire school population for a more positive school climate, assemblies and contests and activities. So we're working on two levels there, and he's absolutely promoting the 40 assets. And we've trained the teachers.
Let me be the devil's advocate here. Thanks, guys, but look, they can't write and they can't read. They have a hell of a good time going to the assembly, but they blow my class off.
The prevention research.
So what do you want me to do? Graduate them and socially promote them? Yeah. Do you hear that ever?
Yes. Okay. And the sad part about that is dropping out of high school has nothing to do with someone's intelligence, but it has everything to do with their soft skills on how to do homework and write reports. Yeah. That's the sad part.
I taught at the college level, and the classes I had loved the best were the non-traditionals, ages 20 to 57. They've been there, done that. They don't want to go back, been there, done that again. They want to learn those, like you said, those soft skills. And
they came there for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah, they were there for a reason, and it was money out of their pocket. Yes. But anyway, what is next then? You've managed to find success in this area. Repeat that. Same people on board coming along saying, "Look, this worked." Do you debrief what works, what doesn't work? it's all yours.
Yeah,
It's all yours.
and I'll take the lead on this. And Penn State, in our grant that we received from the United Way of Erie County to expand out into Strong Vincent High School, because we're a research and outreach facility, we actually have measurable outcomes for everything that we do at Strong Vincent. We have about 14 measurable outcomes, from reducing district justice truancy referrals to students more engaged in activities in the school.
Let me go back to that district
Yes.
justice again. What do you mean district justice? They're referred to the district justice in that particular school district, and they pay a fine?
All schools, when students miss so much school or fail to respond back to the school, are referred to local district magistrates for further action.
Okay, and that action could be?
It could be anything from doing community service work, and then your case is closed, to all the way up to juvenile probation referrals.
Okay. I'm sorry. So you continue with that.
Yes. So
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We're trying to track. It's not enough for us to say we're in Strong Vincent doing great things. We want to say X amount of students graduated where we knew they weren't going to graduate before, or the overall school climate is such that the average student would say, I don't want to go to school, to elevate it to a level where I can't wait to get to school. And that's really our mantra, is how we're working.
School is cool. Yeah. Again, on your left is Joseph Markowitz. Joe's from Penn State Barron, and in the middle is Dr. Michael Webster. He's from UPMC Hammett, and they're both components of what's called the Truancy Reduction Task Force that is mobilized throughout all of Erie County. And we got a couple more minutes left. And what would you recommend to people? You got to tell them out there, what's your plan here? What's the message you got? Or do you need volunteers? Or how can they contact you and say, I got a great idea. Did you ever try this? It's all yours.
Well, actually, who to contact, that's probably in Joe's ballpark too.
Well, we'll get to him, but from the medical component, things are making sense to people now. You've managed to bring this thing in that people never thought about before. I think that was a brilliant stroke, by the way.
Well, you mentioned winning and losing. It's not really ever winning and losing. It's just always trying to do better each time.
Okay.
And some of these issues are always going to be there, but we're going to continue to make progress. Just remember, as a student or a patient, basically, the physician that you work with is a partner. He's someone who's there to help you.
Right.
So if you have an issue, if you have any kind of roadblock, that's who to talk to. We can either help you or point you in the direction of the kind of help you need. If there's a medical issue that's interfering with school attendance, we need to know about it. Don't keep it a secret, because we're going to do the best we can to make sure you can attend. And if you can't attend for some reason, we'll figure out how to work with the school to continue to let you move forward.
Great advice. Joseph, I think you get the last word then.
Good, because I have a good one for you.
Okay.
The United States is the world leader in incarcerating young people. Pennsylvania is the United States leader, highest rate of incarceration in the United States.
Is that so?
We spend $30 million a year in our county alone locking up our youth for things like
$30 million in Erie County.
$30 million in Erie County.
For a variety of reasons.
That's correct. The same efforts that we work on truancy are also going to reduce violence, substance abuse, teen pregnancy, school dropout, and depression in youth. So we're not just attacking truancy, we're actually going after everything.
Great. Is there any kind of a website that people can go to, or a phone number that they can get in touch with either one of you and say, hey, that's a great idea, I'd like to lend my assistance?
Absolutely. Okay. www.youtherie.com.
Youtherie.com. A lot of information on there.
Yes, contact information.
Okay. Joseph, thank you. Doctor, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for being with us. This has all been about things that we all end up paying for, like that old Fram Filter commercial. You can pay me a little bit now, or you can pay me a lot later. And they're trying to make it not pay a lot later. Thanks for being with us. I'm Phil Fatika. Until next time, take care.